Y de quererse, pero es momento de sentarse y de escucharse. Queremos empezar con tiempo, sobre todo para terminar con tiempo y poder tener todo nuestro programa. Así que si por favor son tan amables de tomar asiento, empezaríamos nuestra jornada. Gracias. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes, bienvenidos, bienvenidas a las jornadas de internacionalización de la educación en Canarias y este año se llama Feria Canarias se mueve. Se llama feria porque no sé si ustedes ven ahí que realmente esto queremos que sea una feria. Se llama feria porque queremos que sea un encuentro divertido y se llama Canarias se mueve porque ustedes saben que nosotros aquí, y además ustedes lo viven en sus propias carnes, nos movemos mucho, salimos mucho y recibimos mucho a nuestros socios europeos. Yo quiero darle las gracias primero a todos los miembros de la mesa presidencial. Primero, el señor alcalde del Puerto de la Cruz, que nos acoge en esta magnífica ciudad, que además nos ha contratado incluso un tiempo maravilloso para todos nuestros socios europeos. Y eso está gracias a, yo creo que a la alcaldía. También tenemos representación del Cabildo de Tenerife. Muchísimas gracias, de verdad, porque eso nos hace una idea, nos da una idea de la importancia que esto tiene también para nuestras instituciones y el apoyo que nos ofrecen, evidentemente, nuestra Consejería de Educación, representada por los directores territoriales, la directora territorial de Las Palmas, el director territorial de Santa Cruz de Tenerife, la presidenta del Consejo Escolar de Canarias, muchas gracias Natalia, de verdad, nuestra inspectora de la zona, Lola, que todo el mundo conoce, desde luego, también te agradecemos muchísimo que estés aquí, y la concejala de Educación también del Puerto de la Cruz, que nos acompaña, así que a todos ellos muchísimas gracias. Yo quería darle paso a don Marco González, alcalde del Puerto de la Cruz, para que comience esta inauguración. Muchísimas gracias, Marco.
Si funciona lo hago desde aquí porque a mí si me dan un micro igual me pongo a cantar. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas y bienvenidos a esta que es mi ciudad, pero que también es vuestra ciudad. Puerto de la Cruz acoge esta feria del conocimiento, de la educación, titulada Canarias se mueve, y eso es lo que hace Puerto de la Cruz, moverse. Así que yo espero mucho que disfruten de esta jornada, de esta formación, de este lugar, de este espacio de encuentro para la educación, que además tiene una relación, un día tan importante como el de hoy, porque además coincide con que es el Día de Europa, ¿no? Esos lazos necesarios que especialmente en territorios insulares como es nuestra isla de Tenerife a veces se hace muy difícil cruzar el charco. Así que sean todos bienvenidos y bienvenidas a esta ciudad, a este espacio tan extraordinario como es el Hotel Sol Costa Atlántica. Es un ejemplo de la maduración de un destino turístico pionero como es Puerto de la Cruz, pero de una imagen renovada y preparada para afrontar los retos que los destinos turísticos tenemos a partir de ahora. Quien le habla es casi compañero, ahora en esta etapa política, pero he sido educador desde que tengo 21 años, tengo 47, hace muchísimos años que me dedico a la educación, ahora me dedico a educar casi a las personas, a veces en un modelo de ciudad, y especialmente lo hacía viendo las jornadas en esa conferencia que mañana tienen de Creativity and Critical Thinking, por la oportunidad de seguir pensando en la capacidad creativa de las personas, en la capacidad de crear y de utilizar esa capacidad creadora que tiene el ser humano para transformar las sociedades. Espero que esta jornada, este espacio de encuentro y de diálogo sea lo más fructífero para todos y para todas, para toda la comunidad educativa presente, a los que vienen de fuera, a los que son y pertenecen a nuestra comunidad educativa, porque he visto algunas directoras o jefas de estudios de nuestros centros educativos que están también aquí presentes. Decirles que no solamente tienen una gran jornada de las que disfrutar, sino una gran ciudad de las que espero que puedan disfrutar, porque no solamente tenemos una capacidad de acoger a quien nos visita como si fuese uno más de la casa, sino que además coinciden con el fin de semana más pletórico cultural de esta ciudad, un festival de arte en la calle. Para quien no ha tenido tiempo, cuando acaben las jornadas, no ahora, entre en festivalmueca.com y pueda disfrutar de más de 90 espectáculos, muchos de ellos coincidentes en las mismas horas, de entrada el 80% totalmente gratuito, que hacen de las artes vivas un lugar de encuentro en nuestro territorio. Así que disfruten de las jornadas, pero no se olviden disfrutar de la ciudad más bonita del mundo, que se llama Puerto de la Cruz. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, don Efraín Medina, consejero de Educación, Empleo y Juventud del Cabildo de Tenerife. Muchísimas gracias, Efraín.
Amigos y amigas, muy buenas tardes. A mí me toca darles la bienvenida en nombre de la isla de Tenerife, y que sean ustedes bienvenidos a una maravillosa ciudad. Yo no te puedo decir que sea la ciudad más bonita del mundo porque entraría en un conflicto con otras ciudades de Tenerife, pero bueno, vamos a decir que de verdad que sí. Están en una ciudad espectacular como es el Puerto de la Cruz. Alcalde, muchísimas gracias. José Manuel, gracias por esta invitación, viceconsejero del Gobierno de Canarias, a mi querida presidenta del Consejo, del Consejo Escolar de Canarias, a la inspectora, que ahora estuvimos hablando muchísimo y de verdad también, tanto de una provincia como de la otra, y a los directores territoriales. Muchísimas gracias. Para nosotros es un enorme placer poder recibir y poder abrirnos al mundo. No me resulta extraño el programa Erasmus Plus, porque desde el Cabildo de Tenerife trabajamos muchísimo en recibir a mucha gente que nos viene de fuera y que aprendemos tanto y que hemos tenido tanta enseñanza y que también hemos podido salir. Nosotros, desde el Cabildo de Tenerife, desde el proyecto y programa de inversión lingüística, pues vamos a muchísimos países porque también queremos que nuestro destino y que nuestra isla sea una isla totalmente bilingüe y que podamos abrirnos en oportunidades. Así que desde luego sean ustedes bienvenidos. Y yo también les quiero pedir un favor a todos los que ahora están aquí de los diferentes países de Europa. No se olviden de que este sábado es el Festival de Eurovisión y ustedes tienen que votar por España. Spain 12 point, ¿ok? Entonces, llamen a su gente, a todos los países, y que voten por la canción Zorra de España. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Efraín Medina. Señor viceconsejero de Educación, de la Consejería de Educación, Formación Profesional, Actividad, Física y Deportes, José Manuel Cabrera Delgado, mi jefe, además, y el que me permite todas estas locuras que se nos van ocurriendo.
Buenas tardes a todos y todas. Voy a coger la tablet porque no quiero olvidarme de muchos de los agradecimientos que tengo que hacer en el día de hoy, porque, como ustedes pueden ver, el realizar un acto como este conlleva mucho trabajo, conlleva mucha dedicación y conlleva pues que muchas personas se unan para poder realizar y poder llegar a que todos estemos hoy aquí, pasando sobre todo un buen rato, teniendo unas jornadas fructíferas y celebrando pues toda esta labor que desde hace muchos años la Consejería de Educación, a través de la Oficina de Programas Educativos Europeos, viene desempeñando para llevar y para ser una de las primeras de nuestro país en realizar movilidades y en hacer proyectos Erasmus+. Yo primeramente quiero agradecer al alcalde, a Marcos, pues siempre su colaboración con nosotros, pues el poder utilizar su municipio y venir todos aquí y agradecerle pues siempre su hospitalidad. También a Efraín Medina, consejero del Cabildo, sabemos que siempre lo tenemos para todo lo que necesitamos y las administraciones pues tenemos que colaborar, tenemos que trabajar siempre unidos pues para llevar a cabo pues toda esta labor. También agradecer pues la presencia de la presidenta del Consejo Escolar de Canarias, de los directores territoriales de Educación de la provincia, de la concejala de Educación, de la inspectora y también el representante del CEPIE a nivel nacional. Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí y muchas gracias a todos ustedes, directores, directoras, profesorado, que hace posible que año tras año pues los proyectos Erasmus+, las movilidades sean posibles en nuestra comunidad y que mucho alumnado y mucho profesorado se beneficie y pueda conocer otras culturas y otras actividades. Como bien decía antes el alcalde, además hoy se une a estas jornadas que hoy es el Día de Europa. Un Día de Europa donde ya en el año 1950 hubo la Declaración de Schuman que decía que los países teníamos que cooperar políticamente, sobre todo para intentar evitar pues, tener una convivencia pacífica. Lamentamos todavía que no hayamos conseguido eso en nuestro propio continente, pero eso no quita que sigamos luchando y que sigamos trabajando para ello. Como bien decía, Canarias desde hace muchos años apostó fuertemente por la internacionalización, por llevar al profesorado y alumnado a otros países y por dar esa experiencia, enriquecer a nuestro alumnado y nuestro profesorado con experiencias que pudieran encontrar en otros países. Desde entonces hemos sido pioneros y no solo pioneros, sino además llegar a tener el mayor número de movilidades y proyectos Erasmus Plus en marcha. En este mismo año, el 9 de abril, llegamos a tener 69 movilidades simultáneas, es decir, 69 centros educativos que estaban por toda Europa llevando a alumnado y profesorado a conocer otras culturas y sobre todo a que pudieran enriquecerse tanto profesional como personalmente. Para nosotros, desde la Consejería de Educación, la satisfacción mayor es poder llevar a chicos y chicas de Canarias que a lo mejor de otra forma sería impensable que pudieran hacer esos viajes y pudieran adquirir esos conocimientos, llevarlos a otros países. Y eso solo lo podemos hacer con un gran equipo detrás, colaborando con todos ustedes. Desde la Consejería hoy quiero manifestarles el reconocimiento y la gratitud a todo el profesorado y equipos directivos de Canarias que año tras año consiguen hacer posible esto. De igual forma, al equipo de la viceconsejería, el equipo nuestro que lleva muchos años trabajando, encabezado y liderado por Judith, donde participan Nelson, Karim, Marga, a los que ustedes conocen, y que año tras año les van proporcionando esa formación, esa ayuda para hacer posible todo esto. Desde aquí los queremos agradecer pues toda esa colaboración y ese trabajo y que no duden que la Consejería de Educación seguirá en esta misma línea trabajando para seguir aumentando, si es posible, pues esos proyectos y esas movilidades. También quería recordar hoy pues al alumnado que nos ayuda del IES La Guancha, que nos colabora con nosotros y que también hace posible que hoy tengamos estas jornadas. También agradecer a las delegaciones que nos han visitado y que participan hoy con nosotros y que seguiremos colaborando con ellos y estrechando esos lazos de trabajo que entendemos necesarios y que nos sigan ayudando y consolidando pues esas movilidades y esas aportaciones que nos hacen. Agradecer a las delegaciones de Alemania, Austria, Estonia, Francia, Grecia, Italia, Países Bajos y Polonia por asistir a esta feria de la internacionalización, a este evento que hacemos con tanta ilusión y les agradecemos que hayan podido estar aquí y que compartan con nosotros estas dos jornadas, además de, como bien decía el alcalde, pues estos 2 días adicionales que pueden tener en este fin de semana con estas actividades que proporciona esta ciudad del Puerto de la Cruz. Por último, con todos estos agradecimientos, sobre todo quiero dejar patente que la internacionalización va a ser uno de nuestros objetivos siempre, que tienen todo nuestro apoyo para seguir trabajando y colaborando y que no olviden que al final la satisfacción que le provocamos a ese alumnado, a ese profesorado que hace tareas en otros países, que aprende, que se forma y se profesionaliza, es nuestra razón de ser y siempre encontrarán en la Viceconsejería de Educación el apoyo para seguir trabajando en esta misma línea. Muchas gracias a todos, disfruten de la ciudad, disfruten de esta jornada, compartan esta oportunidad y por mi parte solamente agradecerles que hayan podido estar hoy aquí. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, viceconsejero. Muchísimas gracias. No queremos tardar más, porque si no se nos hace un poquito tarde. Simplemente decirles que los protagonistas de todo esto son ustedes, todos y cada uno del profesorado, que se mete en este trabajo con lo que supone, sabiendo que al final lo que tendrán será una satisfacción de que su alumnado tenga la oportunidad de poder hacer movilidad, conocer otras culturas, otras lenguas, otras formas de trabajar, y ustedes como profesionales también tener la oportunidad de poder encontrarse, mezclarse, relacionarse con otras personas que piensan igual o diferente que ustedes, da igual, pero se encuentran, comparten, y yo creo que eso enriquece. Así que felicidades de verdad para todos y cada uno de ustedes. Y también quiero agradecerle al hotel, que nos ha puesto todas las facilidades del mundo. Quiero también agradecerle al equipo técnico que tenemos aquí con todo este montaje que ustedes ven, a nuestras traductoras que son maravillosas, a nuestro alumnado del ciclo de finanzas, apoyo a la dirección y algo más, creo, del IES Orotava, que sin ellos también no podríamos estar aquí con toda esta organización, sentándolos a ustedes y mandándolos para abajo y dándoles su acreditación. Así que de verdad, si me olvido de alguien, ya a lo largo de estos 2 días que vamos a estar aquí, seguro que nos acordaremos. Muchísimas gracias. Y yo ahora solo quiero presentarles a la persona que va a llevar la dirección de todo este evento, a nuestro presentador, Ed Cousins. Ed Cousins es formador de formadores, es actor, es profesor, es un montón de cosas. Nosotros nos conocemos hace más de 20 años y confío plenamente en que ustedes se lo van a pasar bien y que realmente va a ser el director de este evento. Así que muchísimas gracias y Ed, todo tuyo. Vamos tarde, te lo digo ya.
Have you finished? Is that it? Hello. I have a technical question for myself. Do you hear me in stereo? I had to give it a try. Yes, it's great to be here. I love being here. When I arrive, people always say, "How are you?" And the answer is always the same. It's great to be in the Canaries. I always feel good when I'm here. But it's not about me, or is it? Judith told me that normally when they celebrate these festivals of learning and internationalization, that they get a famous, good-looking person from the television. So you're saying, why did they get this guy? So, and some of you are thinking, is he the guy that used to do the advert for the Christmas lottery? No, it's just a common look. They actually, I get asked to do a lot of conferences like this, which are focused on innovation and learning, because I look like a light bulb. Yeah, that's a joke. And as I said, it's not about me. This is about you. This is a celebration of mobility. It's a celebration of exchange. It's a celebration of how successful the islands have been in representing themselves throughout Europe. This is a reference point for us all, and I can speak from working within the Erasmus Plus project all around Europe. This really is one of the highlights, the success of the Canaries. But you know all about that. What I want to do now is a little bit unconventional, because I'm going to ask everybody to stand up. Now I get to use the other mic. Okay, so this is when, if you have to leave the room, this is the time to leave the room. Thank you so much for coming. And good luck in your Eurovision. Now, following on the theme of music, what we're going to do now, in Belfast we call this a Bonnie Tyler. And what that simply means is that we're going to turn around. And what we're going to do now is complicated. It's a split Bonnie Tyler, or a Bonnie Tyler split. That means that we're going to turn around in different ways. So, for example, I'm dividing the room in half. Imagine yourself one side or the other. I'm not going to be strict. Decide for yourself if you're on this side or that side. No judgment. And I'm simply going to ask this side of the room, you're going to do a Bonnie Tyler clockwise. That means you're just going to turn around, all the way around, clockwise. And this side, you're going to go anti-clockwise. That means the other way. And as you move, I know it's complicated. Am I going left or am I going right? We're not judging you. What I want you to do is to get your hand like this, hands like this, and this is the wave of the last Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, and we're going to do a Bonnie Tyler as the Queen of England, but you have a task. I want you to keep your face straight, and I want you to look at who is in the room. Because in the coffee break, the different coffee breaks, I want you to say hello to someone that you don't know. You identify them now doing your Bonnie Tyler. Let's do our Bonnie Tylers. Congratulations. Some lovely Bonnie Tylers, some still going. You only have to do 360. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is very similar, except you're no longer the Queen of England, the old Queen of England. You are yourself. And what I want you to do is a Bonnie Tyler turning in a different direction. And this time, I just want you to smile at as many people as you can in the room. They're your smiling Bonnie Tyler. Lovely, thank you very much. Some great smiles. Now you can sit down. Phew, is that all he's going to do? Oh, what a relief. What I'd like to do now is a bit of housekeeping, and this is a message coming from the cabin that when you want to turn on the translation, channel number 1, if you want it in Spanish, channel number 2, if you want it in English. Okay? So while Jason is working out if he's channel number 1 or number 2, I'm going to invite Jason McGrath to come onto the stage. He's our first speaker. Give him a round of applause. Do you want this one? Yeah. Now, as you will all know, because you've Googled him, Jason has got a long and distinguished career working in education, and he's dedicated himself to working on motivation, really, as much as other things, about his title, The Joy of Teaching. How do we make our jobs better and the experience of our learners better? But we all know that from Google. I've asked Jason, just before he begins, if he could tell us something about himself that we don't know.
Okay, so when I did my PhD, I had 3 young kids. When I did my PhD, I had 3 young kids, and I did it at the kitchen table. But after that, I was bored and needed something else to do, so I started to teach myself how to use Japanese hand woodworking tools. But I have to say, I've never been invited to a woodworking conference.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll have lots of questions about woodworking tools. Jason, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. And thank you, colleagues, for the invitation. It's a real honour to be here. And the title was actually forced on me, but you'll hear the story as we go, but it's certainly an apt one. So the inspiration for the title comes from a late emeritus professor, John Coulihan from Ireland, and only the Irish know how to tell the story. But I'm going to read these words because it really sums it up. There's a three-letter word which I cherish in the education process that is rarely expressed, and that is joy. I consider that education is a joyous, fulfilling activity, and this dimension of joyous engagement should be more emphasised. So this is the inspiration for the talk today. I'm going to help Ed out as well here because he's just asked you to identify some people. I'm going to give you 1 minute, you don't have to stand up, but I'm going to ask you to think about a joyous moment in your work or your life. Now, I was here last night having dinner. I certainly heard some joyous cheering as the Champions League was on. So there's a starting point. But just in 1 minute, if you could turn to someone, be aware of people who might be there by themselves and try and engage them. But 1 minute, something that's joyous in your work, the last joyous moment you can remember, or your life. So 1 minute from now. You can stand up if you want to. Okay, thank you, colleagues. Thank you. I learned as a teacher many years ago that if you ask people to have a conversation, let them finish. We will come back to this with a show of hands. I won't be asking people to speak, but I will ask for a show of hands a bit later, so just keep in mind what you heard. The things I want to do today is just talk about some ways of reframing the teacher debate, and these are some big ideas I just want to share. looking at some of the OECD work and what it tells us about joy now. What are some of the barriers? And then section 4, I'm going to go through quite quickly. There's a lot of slides there that might be useful when you read them and really look at the project that we're doing, which is New Professionalism and the Future of Teaching, just to look at how we're trying to create the conditions to transform schooling and the work of teachers to bring more joy. And there'll be time for discussion at the end. So, if we're going to bring joy, the first thing that we want to, provocation is that we need to create space to think collectively about the future together. So this is something you'll hear throughout the presentation today. But the argument is that if we anticipate the future, it can actually support not only future challenges, but current challenges. And the other important part of this is we spend time, and time is precious, but if we can find time to think about the future, we can both solve some long-term directions, but we can also solve some short-term ones. This is the argument that I'll share today. This is the provocation slide. This is the bit that I want to provoke. When we talk about teacher policy, we often talk about the things on the end. So we talk about teacher quality, or we talk about teacher supply. Now we know that in most countries around the OECD and around the world, in fact, that there are shortages of teachers, teacher supply. My provocation today is that we will talk about the centre bit. What about if we develop teacher policy focused on this idea of teachers as professionals? How does that change our future? How does that allow for more joy to be brought in? So this is the provocation for today. And just to give you two definitions, you'll see at the bottom of the left that this first definition is from 1915, and the one on the right is from 2020. But it's important to understand the difference between the two definitions. The first definition, 1915, is what we call protective professionalism. It's the idea that you have a body of knowledge, you have superior understanding, and therefore the person, the client, needs to therefore do as they're told. The definition on the right is what we call connective professionalism. And what it does is it talks about the fact that to be professional, it's about the quality of your relationships. So every relationship you have, now we don't say clients in education, we talk about parents and we talk about students. Every interaction we have with parents and students is when we demonstrate our professionalism. And I'll give you an example using doctors, because often when we talk about professionalism, we seem to want to aspire to the 1950s doctor. The 1950s doctor, you would go in there, they had this body of knowledge, and they would tell you what you needed to do, and you would do it. Now, I don't know if anyone is prepared to put their hand up here, but when you go to the doctor now, you've already Googled your symptoms, and you're telling the doctor what they need to know. The doctor's more regulated than they've ever have been, and the doctor will work with their patients. So this is the difference between the two definitions. And when you think about the second definition, what we call new professionalism, there's some things at the bottom that we can talk about. So the things on the left in brown is what we need to do to develop professionalism for teachers, to create more joy. We need to think about specialisation and career progression, how we can diversify career profiles, so how can we allow people to really get inspired by the things that drive them. We need to think about autonomy, and we need to think about the status of the profession. But at the same time, on the right-hand side, when you think about this new definition of professionalism, teaching, in fact, as a profession, leads many other professions, particularly around collaboration, professional learning, and engaging with research. Now, none of those things we would say are perfect, but our commitment to those three things put us ahead of many other professions. Oh, I think I should be pointing it over here. So let's look at the joy now. What does the OECD data tell us? Oh, well, that's all right. Getting some hints here. Oh. Here we go. I work for the OECD and we work with countries. And at one of our meetings, we asked some researchers and policymakers to think about the challenges of today for teaching. And this is what they came up with. This is a sort of a list. We've got shortages, workload, public image, work-life balance, recruitment, and ageing. But when we asked them to think just 10 years ahead and to anticipate the future and what things they'd like to be talking about, this is what they came up with. And what you notice is this is creating space to talk about the future. We start getting words like innovate, support, flexibility, less stress, excitement, sharing of practice. So this is a sort of an argument about how if we can just find some time to actually collectively think about the future, we can make a difference. This is the second idea, and this is called teacher professional identity, which I'll define in the next slide. But I want to give you this logic, this idea of, or theory of practice that you might find. What these researchers say is that when teachers attribute success to their work, to their efforts, to their skills, they find joy in their work. And they get agency or efficacy. They feel they can make a difference. And most importantly, when teachers feel this way, they aspire to be the ideal teacher that's in their minds, their mental model for what the ideal teacher is. Because they're motivated, as Ed mentioned, they're motivated to want to be the best teacher possible. But the opposite is also true. When teachers don't feel that success has anything to do with them, it just happens, they feel more demotivated and less likely to pursue that ideal teacher that's in their mind, their mental model. So what is teacher professional identity? Teacher professional identity is different for every person. So teachers have in their mind who they are. They need to understand who they are, how they see things, and then how they act because of that. And each teacher is different. We are all different how we understand things. But we need to understand that we need to nurture this idea of being introspective, allowing people to understand who they are as a teacher, how that leads to them acting ultimately in a classroom. Now, our conceptual work around this has identified a bit of a gap, which is around the collective identity. So teachers have multiple identities. You have the identity you have in the classroom, the professional identity you have with your closest colleagues in a faculty or stage group, and as a school, what it means to be a teacher at that school. And in Australia, we call it the barbecue conversation. When someone asks you, what do you do as a job? And you say, I'm a teacher. Do you say it proudly or do you say it in cringe? So there's this idea that we need to think about our identities and be supported in this. And then the other important thing for policymakers in the room, the idea is that we should think about how policy ideas are influenced by teachers' professional identity. What will a teacher think about this? And I'll give you some examples of how we do it at the end. Oops. The next thing I just want to share through some OECD work, particularly around the TALIS, which is the Teaching and Learning Survey, which is 2018, and we'll have new data next year, which is very exciting. But in terms of collaboration, what it found is that teachers find collaboration generally to be of benefit. So they, at high levels of job satisfaction, feel self-efficacy, they think they can make a difference. They feel that they're more involved in decision-making, and that they are more satisfied when the culture of a school is collaborative. What's needed, we know, is that it has to align to school goals. There needs to be time and support, and it needs to be embedded as part of the school work. Now, just to show you a couple of graphs, because we're the OECD, we always have to show you some information. Just look at the yellow. This is the association between job satisfaction and three elements: collaborative school culture, teachers rely on each other, and receiving impactful feedback. And there's a correlation between job satisfaction and all three of those areas. So when there's collaborative school culture, when teachers feel there's a collaborative school culture, they feel they can rely on each other, and they have impactful feedback, meaningful feedback, that they tend to feel more satisfied with their work. The other association is around these deeper forms of collaboration, which I'll share some examples in the next slide. But deeper forms of collaboration, which are rarer, we don't see as much of this, but there's a correlation with the collaborative school culture being supportive, lowering stress, which is really important, and people's willingness to participate in decision-makings at school. So just to give you an example down the bottom, here are 4 examples of deeper forms of collaboration. So we have team teaching in the same class, collaborative professional learning, joint activities across classes, and observing other teachers' classes. If you see the red dot, you can see that's the OECD average, and you can see it's very low. So there's not much of this happening, but where it is happening, there's a correlation to job satisfaction. If you look at the blue triangles, you can see that some countries are able to do a lot more of it. And the other part that's interesting, if we get this to work, is the variation within schools. So when you've got this variation of high 80s, and what this means is that it happens in some classrooms, but there's a variation across the school. So that gives us a bit of hope, because we can start to think about what are happening in some classrooms and how do we do more of it. The other form of collaboration, which is a bit of a challenge for us, but is necessary in such a rapidly changing world, is the idea of collaboration with external partners. And a lot of frustration is often expressed when those external partners aren't connected to a school, or there's a gap, a break of it. But we can see from just this list that there's quite a long list of external partners that we do work with, and it's growing. So one of our conceptual pieces that we did was to look at collaboration, because we know collaboration can also be a negative. Some people think it's meaningless. It takes away from my job, and all of those things are true. So we looked at all of the problems of collaboration and tried to come up with these 5 principles that sort of support effective collaboration. It does need to be warranted. There has to be a reason for it. Otherwise, it's not meaningful. Teachers and stakeholders need to be part of making the planning around it. Leadership needs to be trust building. We need to clarify, there's clarity in the collaboration. There's a constant conversation about what are we doing and why, and is it meaningful? And lastly, we argue that all disciplines across universities, professions, should be teaching this interprofessional and cross-sectoral collaboration. It happens a little bit in medicine, but not many other disciplines. And the other thing that we can talk about that is possible now is this idea of trying to support teachers across their total career phase. So this means that we understand that teachers have different needs at different parts of their careers, and in fact in different parts of their personal lives, and we need to support them at that point. Sometimes we focus just on the first 5 years, so that's another idea. Okay, so some of the barriers we're trying to work around. The first is a paradox, and this comes particularly out of the pandemic, but it existed before it. And it's that teachers often have had enough of change. And in fact, we not just talk about change fatigue, but we also talk about burnout now. But at the same time, we know that the current policy settings in most countries are not attracting young professionals into teaching and are not even satisfying current professionals in teaching. So this is a paradox that we have to work around. And we've got a few suggestions to try to counter this that I'll talk about. So motivation again, Ed's obviously read my PowerPoint. And this is where I come back to your discussion earlier. So this is 2018 data from Tallis, but it talks about some of the motivations that teachers have for going into becoming a teacher. What you notice is the first three are all intrinsic motivations. It's all the feel-good bits. And then the next ones are extrinsic motivation. Even though it's in that order, we need to look at all of them. But I'm going to ask you to put your hand up in a minute if you talked about any of these three stories that talked about these three elements. So teaching allowed me to influence the development of a child or young person. Teaching allowed me to provide a contribution to society. Teaching allowed me to benefit the socially disadvantaged. Now, I know some of us are not in school positions, but if you had in your conversation, can you put your hand up if it was about one of those three things? It was about influencing a young person, making society better, or doing something in terms of equity. All right, I'm seeing, okay, yep, I'm waiting. Righto, beautiful. I'm seeing a lot of hands for those people who are looking at the front Now, can I ask the same question? Who had a story about teaching being a secure job, a reliable income, teaching schedule fit for the responsibilities in your personal life, or it offered a steady career? Did anyone have a story about that? Hands up. Right, okay. So you are pretty much surprisingly, like every other teacher in the world, that we're motivated by those intrinsic things. But as I said, that doesn't mean those extrinsic things are not important. And I'll explain why. So we asked these questions as well, but it's the top one that's the important one. Remembering this data is 2018, but this is the critical question. The advantages of being a teacher clearly outweigh the disadvantages. This is the question that you can see in 2018, 75% of teachers reported there was clear advantage over the disadvantages. What's going to be interesting is next year when that question's repeated to see what teachers have said. Another interesting barrier, and this is partly in our mental model, is to do with teachers' perceptions of how society feels they're satisfied, they're valued in society. And you can see I've identified Spain. Spain's actually improved from 2013 to 2018. But you can see that less than 20% of teachers, less than 1 in 5 teachers, feel that their work is valued by society. Now, what's interesting about this, that in many countries, when there are other questions asked to general community about who do you trust in society, teachers often come up very high. So there's some disconnect between what we feel as teachers and what society feels. And this is partly to do with our professional identity. As I said, in Australia, the barbecue conversation, I remember in the 1990s when some teachers, when they were asked that question in Australia, would say, I work in retail, because they didn't want to say I'm a teacher. And that's really disappointing. So there's some conflict there that we have to work out. Why do we feel that society doesn't support us when some other data from society says that they actually do value us? Recognising also that public institutions generally have a lower amount of trust than in previous years, which is also important to factor in. So what I'm going to do now is just talk about this project that we're running. We've been doing the conceptual work that I've shared some of that with you. But this is how we're trying to transform education. And I'm just going to go back, actually. And the key concepts that we're using is, what are our current strengths we can build on? What's the short-term improvements we can make, which is, that's normal policy settings. But what we try to introduce is the idea of long-term transformation. We argue that you should spend time, think collectively about the future, and that this will actually make the short-term improvements better, but also make sure that we can shape the preferred future that we'd like. So we're using futures methodologies here, which is a bit uncommon. Economists use it all the time, but not so much in education. And what we do, I'll show you the project in a page in a minute, but we're trying to co-create future preferred scenarios. That's our process. We use an extensive evidence base around next practice, and we try to bring a breadth of perspective, different stakeholders. So this is the project in a page. We bring together all these stakeholders and partners, and we use two tools which I'm going to share with you about. The one's called an ambition loops framework, a statement of ambitions. In the UN, they developed a set of ambitions for government and a set of ambitions for business around sustainability. And they said if we achieved these ambitions, both groups, there would be these positive feedback loops and things would go forward. We do the same, but in a more sophisticated way with different partners in the education system. We also have developed these set of personas, teacher personas, that we can test policy in our scenarios with, and I'll show you some results of that. And importantly, we talk about this idea of two-path planning, which I'll also introduce. So what is next practice? It's a bit of a weird term, but next practice already exists. In fact, in terms of futures, we say that the future exists, it's just not spread evenly. So next practice is firstly looking at what we currently do, but working out, is it fit for purpose now and for the future? How should we change what we currently do in ways that will improve the future and make it fit for purpose? And then the other one, which is the more, what you're probably thinking about when you think of next practice, it's the opportunity for experimentation and for innovation. And the two-path planning process, as I said, we introduced then long-term planning strategies. And I'm just going to share these different ideas that we don't often do in our policy work. Firstly, it's participatory processes, actually spending the time talking to each other, and what Education International calls the micro-innovations. What's already happening in schools? They argue that schools already innovate to respond to the challenges of what's happening in the world. Let's gather them up. Research activities, bring in the researchers, work with them collectively to try to come up with some ideas that already exist in the research about how we can respond to problems. The teacher personas I'll talk about, and I've already spoken about providing space for new ideas, but also the idea of career specialisation. If we've got some problems, technology, for example, or whatever it is, there are teachers out there who have interests and passions and expertise in those areas. We should be identifying those people and making them part of the solution. So here's our ambition framework. As I said, it's a bit more sophisticated than the UN one. We look at the blue, which is the school community. We look at the green, working with educational sector, and we look at the yellow, looking at professionals in the broader societal sector. So I'm just going to whiz through these. As I said, this bit, it's more for reading later, but there's some ideas I just want to share. Okay. I've put a lot of buttons here, so I'm going to click it a few times. Here we go. So the ones on the left, the three on the left are the ones that we did in our conceptual work. The four on the right are ones that we did working with researchers as part of our study from different systems. what I just want to share with you is that each of our ambition statements, set of ambition statements, has a what if that frames it. So what if we create space to think collectively about the future, I've already mentioned. What if we redefine the roles of teachers and learners? What if we value schools as a physical place? So I'm just going to give you some examples of this, just to get some thinking going. Some of these might resonate with you. Okay, so what you can see on the left is that we create ambitions for different groups: teachers, school leaders, local authorities, policymakers, and these are just some. So each of the different statements on the right are ambitions that we might have teachers do, or parents do, or different groups. So teachers promote a healthy working environment, take responsibility for that. School leaders are supported to play an important role in teachers' wellbeing. School leaders themselves need to be supported in their own wellbeing. And policymakers respond to the specific challenges in different contexts. For example, schools that might have a lot of beginning teachers. So these are just some examples. And each of these statements has a set of research. That's what's showing in the purple. So there's a set of research around next practice that we can draw on. So another what if is around this idea of developing more diverse career profiles. And the provocation, it's great timing that we had the Champions League last night. We've borrowed a metaphor that someone else has shared about the football team. And that perhaps teaching might, at the moment, look more like a team of midfielders. We try to have everyone doing the same. And we don't provide enough space and recognition for all the skills and passions and interests that different teachers can bring to a school team, for example. So this is the provocation. So what about if we gave space for teachers to take their professional development seriously? What about if policymakers supported continual development of teachers' knowledge around teacher authority? What if we all partners appreciated the added value of a diverse teacher workforce and analysed the barriers and opportunities to create one? This one's a really interesting one because this is about teachers' source of stress, and it seems to be becoming a bigger issue. Again, 2018 data, but this idea that parents, the relationship with parents, even when it's good, is more intense in the modern world, and that's creating some issues for teachers. And there's two sides to this, actually, that we have in our framework. One is that we need to really look at how the intensity of this relationship is happening, look at how we build norms about how that works. But the second way is the opposite, that actually working with some experts in this area. We should be thinking differently about how we actually work with families. And this idea that schools and teachers should develop a pedagogical vision that includes valuing the unique knowledge that families bring about a child. Parents themselves should appreciate their role as the first teacher and the knowledge that they could bring to their child's development. One of the important ones is that we all recognise that the adults around the child are all trying to do the right thing by that child. So this one's an interesting one because there's two challenges. Just to share an example from the education sector. So these are the what-if statements. I'm just going to share one around teacher professional identity. So this is a model that we developed. But here are the ambitions that we have for that. Okay. What if teachers strengthen their understanding of teacher professional identity individually and collectively? What if higher education and schools work together to develop teacher development throughout their career? What if policymakers develop partnerships to further develop the interests and expertise of individual teachers? And what if all partners value the opportunity to connect, to build joint knowledge? So this idea of research and practice being of equal value. And just one example from the broader societal sector. Here it comes. Okay. What if we see teachers as pedagogical innovators? What if teachers had the capacity and the autonomy to be able to do things that was meaningful for their students? What if teachers were able to take advantage of opportunity to strengthen student choice and action, so to support learning? What if schools created an environment for innovation through long-term partnerships? Not short-term partnerships, but long-term partnerships between teachers and those in the community. And what about if all partners developed approaches based on interdisciplinary ways of operating, which is something that's happening in the current. There's more interdisciplinary work occurring. So we have a whole lot of these ambition loops. I've only shared some of them, but what we ask, which is really important, is we ask people in these stakeholder processes to identify the level of importance. What is important? And then more importantly, is this a short-term, long-term, or something building on a strength? I'll just skip that one. Oops. And what they come up with in these groups is an actual scenario, preferred scenario for the future. The left-hand side is ambitions. The right-hand side on the scribble is their notes from the discussion. Now, the first set of scenarios are coming out next month, so I can't actually share them, but these are some of the themes that came out. Community, empowering students, vision for teaching and learning, higher education, collective teaching, diverse teacher workforce, building on families. These are some of the key elements that came out of it, and you can read some of those, but most of them are probably things that you'll be familiar with. And then lastly, I just wanted to finish with this idea of teacher personas, because we've found that they've got a lot of traction. And what we basically do is, rather than often policy work these days, we talk about policy affecting a teacher as if there's one type of teacher. And we're trying to make that more sophisticated. So we've developed these archetypal teacher types. They're fictional. But we think they're useful for developing action, because you start thinking about different types. So these ones were built on intergenerational data, and the TALIS data, positive and negative things that we see in the data, also around burnout research. But more importantly, it's looking at how we use these personas, which I'll just flick to. So these are a different set of scenarios, but what you can see on the top is a negative positive scale. Now, the 6 scenarios that we've generated working with one system, we found that two of the scenarios, when we analysed them, all of the personas would think that they're relatively positive. But more interesting is the fact that two of the scenarios at the top look like that, where you had a spread, and then at the bottom is also a spread, but you can see that but they're flipped over, so that some scenarios more experienced teachers liked, some scenarios more experienced teachers didn't like. So these are the ways we're trying to make policy a bit more sophisticated. And just lastly, these are some lessons that we've learned from the first study. We've got 2 more next month. That we need to think about the strength of the system and how to reframe it using next practice, how to make it fit for purpose in today's world and tomorrow's world. Because a lot of systems don't recognise actually the value of their strengths. We've developed this concept of return on effort for teachers, that when we do collaboration, there has to be more return for teachers than effort, because teachers are already doing more than enough. And one of the other things that came out of the study that we probably should have known, but we hadn't really picked up, that in terms of frustration, teachers want to see the first circle, the people they work with closest outside of schools, they want to see those relationships strengthened first before we start thinking about broader ones. So that's the end of the talk, but there's an opportunity for any questions or comments. And the questions below is thinking about what could you do to bring more joy to your work, building on strengths, shorter term improvement, or longer term transformation. Okay. Any questions, comments? If you raise your hand, then someone will come along. Thank you.
Hola, sí, perdón. Bueno, me voy. ¿Así? Buenas tardes. Me expreso en español porque hay traductores que seguro que hablan un mejor inglés que el mío. Le quería preguntar, usted que conoce pues, diversos sistemas educativos a través de Europa, ¿cómo calificaría respecto a lo que dice de la autonomía y de la alegría del profesor de sentirse responsable de su propia actividad? ¿Cómo definiría o cómo mediría el nivel de la autonomía de los centros escolares en España con respecto al sistema y con respecto a la autonomía que los centros escolares tienen en otros países? ¿En qué rango lo pondría usted?
I'm going to get some help here with the Spanish. Thank you. So the question was around teacher autonomy in Spain, and I don't know, I'd be careful about what I actually say about Spanish, but what I can talk about is a system that does have most autonomy. And one of those systems, in fact, we worked with, but interestingly, they didn't necessarily value the fact that they're autonomous. And they're actually looking at more accountability. So one of the interesting things is that systems that have high levels of autonomy don't necessarily value it because the other bit's missing. We're also working with another system that's trying to give more autonomy to their teachers. But what we're finding is that teachers don't know what to do with that autonomy, and they keep asking for permission. So one of the things that we need to do is to understand that if we do make some changes, so if we increase autonomy, that we do actually need to provide support about how that autonomy actually works. But I don't want to answer specifically around Spain because I don't have enough in detail knowledge.
Can we please have a big round of applause for Jason? That was a brilliant piece of work. Yes. Not only was there some detail, quite a lot of detail, great evidence. Jason actually managed to help us to get almost back on track in terms of time. One of the things that I really enjoyed about the evidence you were showing was this, the desirability for creating sharing places and for collective learning. I also enjoyed the idea that you were bringing in ideas that come from outside the world of education, because we don't live in a bubble. And this need to create communities of practice that represent all of our stakeholders is going to be enriching for us all. Of course, Jason was talking about creating sharing spaces. And that connects so well with the next part of the Jornadas. It would almost seem as if someone had planned it. Because now we're going to meet some of our guests who have traveled to be with us and who are very interested to make lasting, sustainable connections with the community, the teaching community, the educational community of the islands. And the first person who's going to come and talk about where they're from and what she does is Jesse Leipers. I hope I got the name right. Jesse, thank you. Jesse has asked me to stay around here in case there's problems pressing the button, because she thinks that I must be good at pressing buttons. It's working? Okay. Just before I hand over to Jesse, I'm going to ask her at the end of her presentation if she could tell us, if she was to be either an animal or an item of clothing, which animal or item of clothing would she be and why? But first of all, Jesse.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse Lipperts from the Netherlands, and I work for an organization called NUFIC. And today I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and about NUFIC, and also what NUFIC does specifically for primary and secondary education. Okay. So first a little bit about me, because I came here and I don't know anybody really. So I thought for making networking a bit easier a bit later, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself with these pictures and why I love being with NUFIC and why I love the work that I do so much. So the first picture, you see me when I'm still like a teenager and celebrating Carnival in the southern part of the Netherlands, which is a big party, and I used to be like for 6 days partying. Then the second picture is I'm on my first exchange. I'm in France. I'm studying at University of Montpellier, and so I studied French for six months. Then the third picture, you see me between two profesores, where I was studying in Salamanca, Spanish. So, sí, puedo hablar un poco de español, entonces no hay problema. And then the funny picture on the top is when I did my second internship of hotel school, and I was in Miami for a year working in a hotel, slaving away in housekeeping. So I really appreciate all the staff that works in hotels, because I think they work very hard. And I was also then cleaning rooms, 8 to 15 rooms a day. And the picture beneath is I lived in South Africa for 17 years. And that's where I adopted my daughter, which is the small baby that you see. She's now turning 12 almost, so she's almost going to high school. So thank you. And then, yes, I love traveling. Obviously, when I lived in South Africa, I traveled a lot, and I used to have my own travel company. And then I love studying languages, like I did from when I was 18. You know, studying French and Spanish, and also in Miami, 80% is done in Spanish. So there I also talked a lot of Spanish. But anyway, I thought it would be easier to just start chatting to me a bit later if you want to know because I don't know anybody yet of you, and I love to meet you all, of course. Okay, now back to NUFIC. I see there's a lot of information on this slide, but I've split it up a bit later, so don't worry. Can I point with this thing or not? No, I cannot. No. So NUFIC basically is the organization in the Netherlands for internationalization in education, and And this graph basically tells you I can send you this graph if you want to, because it tells you basically in a nutshell all the things that NUFIC does. We have three main pillars, a pillar global, a pillar Europe, and a pillar the Netherlands. If you look at the yellow blocks, those are all our offices for the global pillar. And then the pillar Europe, that's where obviously Erasmus Plus belongs and where eTwinning belongs. So we also house the national agency for Erasmus Plus that belongs with NUFIC. And then the sector Netherlands, that's where I work, because I work for Dutch primary and Dutch secondary education. So yeah, we are the organization for internationalization. We have several departments that we work for. We work for the Department of Education. We have assignments from Department of Economic Affairs, Department of Foreign Affairs, and then also we have obviously the European Union, under which Erasmus Plus and eTwinning belongs. Okay, and this is one example. I also want to share some current projects that we are doing. So this is the newest global that is with the pillar global. It's a cultural heritage program that is funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and is to empower young professionals from Indonesia, Nigeria, Sri Lanka, Suriname, and South Africa to enhance their knowledge of cultural heritage management. So they can come on a grant, they can come to the Netherlands to study cultural heritage management and then go back to their countries to implement what they've learned. So in that way, we try to help those countries, which often are countries that used to be colonized by the Netherlands, to help them look after their own cultural heritage. Okay, now this is my part of where I work. So I'm a regional advisor for the south of the Netherlands, where I work for primary and secondary education. And my focus is schools that are not really familiar with these topics yet. So for example, we speak to schools that have not heard yet of Erasmus Plus, and they don't know that they can apply for an Erasmus Plus grant. So we then explain to them Erasmus Plus is not only for higher education, it's also for primary education and for secondary education. We facilitate several networks within NUFIC. I forgot to tell that NUFIC started in 1952, only as to enhance collaboration between European universities. And now we work, from early education centers all the way through to adult education, vocational education, and yeah. So all this we work in all the educational sectors. What we specifically do for primary education is we facilitate a network. It's called the Network for Foreign Languages and Global Citizenship, and their primary schools can become a member, but it's free for them. And there they start working together to really implement global citizenship into their curriculum, so that children from the age of 6, when they start primary school, that they can start learning English or German. It's mostly English. And that they learn about different cultures in other countries or in other areas. For example, what was nice that I could do, where I could have my South African network collaborate with the Dutch network. I connected 2 primary schools in the Netherlands with 2 primary schools in South Africa. And which is nice, there's no time difference, so they can really work nicely together, and the kids will start digitally exchanging with each other. And the school principals actually made a plan so that from the grade 1, that the kids grow up together all the way, so that they have different digital exchanges, and that and that they then learn from each other, which is great. And South Africa also has this multilingualism in classrooms, because South Africa has 11 national languages. And in the Netherlands, it's probably also here where we have, in the Netherlands, we have a lot of migrants, knowledge workers, expats, and these children, they often don't speak the Dutch language. So teachers have to be able to work with all the different, with multilingualism in the classroom. So, and South Africa has a lot of experience with that. So that was nice. Then we have let's see if I can do the next one. Oh. I will just go through this. This is another current project, which is a quick scan. So schools can go online onto our website, and they can do a quick scan. What is at the moment our status of internationalization? So they can answer a few questions, and then it will give them a report. Or you're doing very well in these areas. You're not doing so well yet in these areas. Maybe here are a few suggestions. So what you can do. Then you start working with that, and then maybe after a year or two, you do the quick scan again and see where you have improved. So we just started rolling out this tool, and it's if you go to the website, you can actually also do it in English, but it's really written for Dutch education sector. So I'm not sure if it will all be applicable for other schools. Let me just go through this. So this is, so these, we just talked already about the networks that we facilitate for primary education. VVTO stands for Early Language Education. So we gather all those schools and we facilitate, we organize webinars for them, we organize all kinds of interesting training for them. Then eTwinning and Erasmus Plus obviously is for both, for primary and secondary education. Then at the top you see the silo network. What we also try to do is to gather teacher colleges and teacher colleges at universities, so that they already know about internationalization, because it's not part of their standard curriculum. So we try to approach them and see if teachers, if they're going to become teachers, and if they already know about internationalization, it will obviously help a lot with our mission that every child should be able to develop international and intercultural skills throughout their life, their school life in the Netherlands. Then you see Nuffic Link at the top. That is a network for French and German teachers. Teachers can join, and they can go on a subsidized professionalization trip to either Germany or Belgium, and they will get together and have a 5-day course, which is fully subsidized. Then the TTO network, which is the bilingual network of schools, which are about 150 schools now in the Netherlands that offer both English and Dutch education. And then a very interesting network is also the Global Citizen Network. So these are about 85 schools now in the Netherlands, and they work together on global citizenship together. So they make sure that it's embedded in their entire curriculum, that global citizenship is really something that comes back in every single classroom and in every single lesson, instead of just having it, as a separate topic or something. It is, and these schools, they work together. They also do exchanges within the network. And Nuffic organizes for them. They attend training, and they attend webinars, and all that, it belongs with the membership. And then a very special network that we facilitate is the network Chinese, Netwerk Chinees. So there are 27 schools in the Netherlands that offer Chinese at a exam level. And they work together because it's not a state exam. So the teachers and the members of the network, they have to make the exams together. They have to make the lesson material together. So that is also a network that is facilitated by Nuffic. Now here is what we try to do for how does it work, internationalization? And you can do it on 4 levels. You see 4 colors here. Unfortunately, we don't have the slide in English. But the blue is you can start internationalization in your classroom. what nationalities do you have in your classroom? What languages do your kids speak already? How can you use that in the classroom? The pink one is in the school. You know, how can you promote internationalization in your school? See what you can do when you arrive in the school, that all the children feel welcome in their own language. Maybe they can put a flag, or you have a big globe. So these are different ways to implement internationalization in your class and school. Then obviously in the Netherlands, you can visit we have world museums, we have all kinds of things. So that's when you start really traveling. And then the green color is when you start internationalization, when you really go on exchange, and that's when you obviously use your Erasmus Plus grant, and when you start doing exchanges. Okay, yeah, but this is just a graphic design of a school. So the school has put in this graphic how they have internationalization implemented, and it's really nice how they looked at all the different themes, and they worked with the Sustainable Development Goals. If you want to know more about that, just ask. You see the Sustainable Development Goals; they are all on the right-hand side, and they talk about all the different skills that they develop. So this is really nice when a school comes up with something like this, to make sure that it's embedded in the whole curriculum. And that was me. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, a very complete and big program that you're running.
Yes, and I actually forgot half of it.
Okay, we don't have time for questions now, but as we said before, this is your opportunity to connect in the coffee breaks and in the free time. Make sure that you can make your connection with the Netherlands. They've got so much going on. And
so we have, if you're a primary school or a high school that is looking for exchanges, please contact, and I can put you in touch maybe with schools in Holland.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot the question about the animal.
Yes, she forgot the question about the animal. I'll come back to that. Okay, time is not our friend, and here's a man who I think I know, Francesco, all the way from Italy. Now, Francesco, I'm going to ask you to answer the question at the beginning rather than the end, so that you don't forget. So if you are either an animal or a vehicle, a form of transport, what are you and why?
Am I going to answer now?
Yes.
A bear.
He's a bear. Why are you a bear?
Gets to sleep a lot.
Okay. Correct
And I
answer.
need it. Really.
Over
Wow.
to you.
Thank you for having me, first of all. I'm quite shocked by the audience. It's a lot of people. Oh, after those speeches we've been through, I feel like I'm a little bit off of my league, because, I'm just a teacher. Well, but I'm a proud teacher, answering to Mr. McGrath. And I want to tell you something about, why I'm here in the first place. My name is Francesco Lannino. I'm an Italian teacher. I work in an upper secondary school in the northern part of Italy, Biella. It's a small town in the northern Italy. And, 4 years ago, we applied for an accreditation as a consortium of schools. We are 5 schools all around Italy. I don't know if you remember what was going on 4 years ago all around the world, actually. There was a kind of virus, they used to call it. It was pretty hard to deal with, but of course, we had a vision in the first place. We gathered together with colleagues from other schools all around Italy, 5 schools, as I told you. I want to list them, because there was us from Biella, then another school from Castiglione Fiorentino, which is near Florence. You all know where Florence is, I guess. And then there was a school from Sassari in Sardinia, another school from Atri, which is a small town not so far from Rome, and in the end, one school from Sicily, Palermo, which is eventually the city I was born in. So it was quite a surprise, actually. So what are we? We are just a national accredited consortium. We are 5 Italian schools, but what links us together is that we share a vision. And the vision is pretty simple, actually. We just thought that, we are just teachers and just schools, but if you look a little bit deeper, there's a treasure in each school. It just needs to be opened, to be discovered. Each of us has something valuable going on in their place. So we just need to connect schools, to share experience, to share practices, and this will make us better. This will make us feel a little bit less isolated, which is something that weighs on us a little bit. And of course, I couldn't be here if it wasn't for my team. I'm a supporter of team working. I work with a reliable, hardworking, trustworthy team. And this is the main focus of our projects. We wanted to build an international network of schools, just schools, nothing else. And afterwards, we wanted to make our contribution to the European Education Area Strategy, which is mostly about exchanging practices already existing. This can make us richer. And of course, this goes with training provided to students and teachers as well. Well, and that is what came out after 4 years. It's a network of schools. Yes, of course, it's not a big one. We are something like more than 30 schools all around Europe, 12 countries involved. Well, some countries have just one school, some others, like Spain, we got 13 Spanish schools working with us. And, well, we strongly believe that it's all about the relationship you can make between people working in schools. Making people together is something that comes with Erasmus, and Erasmus is mostly about making people coming together. And we are trying to connect school staff. We are trying to do this while promoting joint events. We are trying to do it while supporting the many schools that are around Europe that don't know what they can actually do. They don't know how to harness their potential. We can help them with this just by providing some guidance, some advice, sometimes just a pat on the back, which is enough. You can do it, come on. Well, how do we do this? Well, we think that training is key in order to implement the strategy which lies behind Erasmus. Sorry, I'm quite frightened about the stage fright. And afterwards, we promote exchanging between staffs, teachers, and school staffs also. And we boast virtual and physical cooperation. And we want this network to be active. We want everybody to have a say within the network. And of course, we provide opportunities for the students to have some time abroad. Students and teachers, of course, but students are the ones we are mostly focused on. And we chose something not so popular because we are mainly into long-term mobility for students, which is something very challenging for schools. I won't hide it. It's not so easy to deal with it, but it's so impactful that I can't even start to tell how this can be transforming for students to have an opportunity to blend into another country, into another culture for a proper amount of time. This can make them harness their real potential and build some skills they didn't think they had before leaving. So it's something we see every day. Right now, we have been working for 4 years, and we managed to have something like 150 mobilities so far, long-term only. And, well, I think this was quite enriching for all of us, for all the members of the staff, for all the members of the network. And of course, we are totally committed to grant perfect condition of well-being for all the participants, which is crucial, because if you want to learn something, first of all, you got to feel safe. You got to feel accepted. And this is what we do. This is what we are good at, actually. We are trying to build some trust all around Europe because we think that is what we are called to do within Erasmus. Just building relationships that can last over the time. That's it. It's not...
Thank you, Francesco the Bear. So we're getting some themes that are beginning to develop through these presentations. Building communities, building networks, empowering ourselves. The opportunities that come through partnership to also engage with our stakeholders in meaningful ways. Working with parents, developing our staff teams. The space for these can often happen in these international projects. And we have two presenters coming now. We have Marjorie and Francine, and they come from a place almost as exotic as the Canary Islands. That's all the way from the Reunion Islands. Please. Thank you. And just in case people are getting nervous and twitchy about their coffee break, the coffee break will still take place just a little bit later because we need to give a little bit of time.
I'm going to start.
Right. Just again, at the beginning, your animal or your vehicle, your form of transport.
Una pantera.
Sorry, what was that?
O un león. Eso corresponde a mi carácter.
¿Por qué?
Porque corresponde a mi carácter. Así es. Soy una luchadora, me gusta la vida, pues así soy yo.
Okay.
Thank you. A bird. Thank you very much. We're not going to be long. I'm a bird, definitely. Light, trip, meetings. We're not going to be long. Thank you very much for your invitation. We are very happy to be here. It's been a long trip to come here, but we are really delighted to be here. My name is Marjorie. I'm an international officer. I'm actually a teacher, an English teacher. Hablo un poco español, but un poquito. I'm going to speak English tonight, and there's this translation. So my name is Marjorie. I'm an international officer. It means that I work for the National Ministry of Education at regional level, and I help schools develop their projects with Europe and also with the world. Here is Francine. She's an inspector of Spanish, and we are going to explain what we do. We have in common, you and I, to be an island, but we live very far away from you. We live in the Indian Ocean, next to Madagascar, next to the African coast, and but we are a part of Europe. So when you come to us, when you come to our island, you're definitely at home. You can come, we speak French, we have the euros, you can come with a simple identity card, and you are at home when you come to our island. That is the first point, and that's important to tell. Second point, we share also the dynamism of your island. We have met several schools since our arrival. We work with Karine and Judith from the Consejero for a few years. We've been working together for a few years. And we know that you are very dynamic with Erasmus program, with eTwinning program, and some of you are already linked to our schools. And that's another point we have in common. Maybe we can talk a little bit about Spanish languages, teaching of Spanish in La Réunion, maybe Francine, and then I switch back to Erasmus program.
Sí, bueno, yo lo voy a hacer en español, como soy inspectora de español, bueno, no podría hacerlo bien en inglés. Bueno, pues, bueno, para empezar, les proponemos tres enfoques. Un primer enfoque, una pequeña introducción sobre la enseñanza del español en La Réunion. Luego, un segundo enfoque en la cooperación europea. Pues van a darse cuenta que hay mucho dinamismo en La Réunion, gracias a mi colega Marjorie Coste. Y para terminar, bueno, una breve presentación de lo que sobre lo que podríamos trabajar. Pues una pequeña introducción. En la reunión, los alumnos tienen elección entre el inglés, el español, el alemán, el chino y a partir del año que viene el portugués también. Pues todos los alumnos estudian inglés y luego viene el español. Es el segundo idioma extranjero elegido por los alumnos. Es un idioma elegido por un 70% de los alumnos de la región, lo que representa más o menos más de 63.000 alumnos, lo que no está mal, en mi opinión. Pues yo como inspectora me encargo de la formación de los 450 profesores de español. Y tenemos también en la Academia de la Reunión pues una oferta a nivel de los idiomas muy importante. Pues 65 secciones bilingües en los colegios, lo que llamamos collège en Francia, que son centros educativos para alumnos que tienen entre 11 y 15 años, 14 y 15 años. Y en la Reunión hay 87 colegios, es decir que 3 de cada 4 colegios proponen una sección bilingüe en español, lo que es, en mi opinión, algo muy, muy importante. Hay otras opciones también, una opción en los colegios que es lengua y cultura europeas. Es una opción que sirve para profundizar aspectos lingüísticos y también culturales. Y los alumnos tienen una hora más a la semana y hasta 2 horas más a la semana. Y a nivel de los institutos, que bueno, son centros educativos para alumnos entre 15 y 18 años, los que preparan el bachillerato, tenemos 28 secciones, lo que llamamos europeas, una sección más o menos el equivalente de AICLE. Y tenemos también una enseñanza especializada en español. Los alumnos que escogen esta enseñanza especializada tienen en total, bueno, la enseñanza representa entre 4 y 6 horas, pero con las horas de la base común, eso representa entre 6 y 8 horas de español a la semana. Y salen casi bilingües, con un nivel entre B2 y C1. Y para terminar esta oferta, pues tenemos 4 secciones back-to-back, bueno, que funcionan muy bien. Y todos los profesores que intervienen en estas secciones, en estas opciones, se comprometen a implementar proyectos culturales, por ejemplo, en relación con el teatro y también proyectos de intercambios virtuales con eTwinning, por ejemplo, y proyectos de intercambios de movilidad física, y eso gracias al programa Erasmus+. Y son profesores de español, de lengua, pero trabajan sobre temáticas, varias temáticas como la sostenibilidad, el patrimonio, la igualdad de género, etc. Pues mi colega va a desarrollar este aspecto.
Muchas gracias, Francine. Our strength in La Réunion is that we have almost about 500 primary schools, 150 secondary schools, and most of them have a European coordinator. So when we need to build a project, we have teachers directly in the school with whom we interconnect, with whom we connect, and and when we want to build a common project, it's easy to do. All our schools are connected to Europe through eTwinning. We have actually more than 2,500 teachers on the eTwinning platform, which is quite good. We have started actually to connect with Europe through eTwinning, and now we are able to make exchanges, physical exchanges, thanks to Erasmus+. We have many projects going on. What we built on our island is the autonomy of school to develop their own projects, their own accreditations. 70% of our schools have an accreditation, either in school, primary and secondary schools, or vocational schools. We also have big projects, Consortium, Erasmus+, that we manage from my office and involve in more than 100 schools. And Francine talked about Spanish teachers. Of course, we know that language teachers are the lever for international projects, but we have almost all our teachers, all our headmasters, all our inspectors involved in those European projects. We have currently going on early childhood education projects, vocational projects, inclusion projects, language projects, whatever. Every topic is covered, is important, because we think that Erasmus Plus is a lever of innovation for our education system in La Réunion and everywhere else. So we share this vision that we have already talked about previously of having collaboration for innovation, Erasmus for innovation. So we'll be very happy to work with you. Mind you, we are living very far from you, but we receive a lot of teachers, a lot of school headmasters and inspectors from European countries, from Canarias, many thanks to you, from other regions of Spain, many thanks to you, and from other European countries, many thanks to you all. Anything else, maybe? Yeah.
A ver, solo 2 diapositivas más para presentar un poco pues, la reunión, que es un territorio, como lo ha dicho mi colega, que se encuentra en el Océano Índico. Pues estamos en el cruce de varios continentes, pues cerca de África, no muy lejos de Asia, y es una isla francesa, pues formamos parte de Europa. Y también es una isla que presenta una riqueza cultural increíble. Una mezcla entre las Indias, entre China, etcétera. Y se nota a través de los bailes, de las músicas, de la gastronomía. Bueno, hemos puesto unas fotos que da ganas, ¿no? Y también una de nuestras bazas, pues la biodiversidad. Tenemos un parque nacional que forma parte del Patrimonio Mundial de la UNESCO. Y tenemos un volcán, como en Canarias, que somos 2 islas gemelas, podemos decirlo así. Bueno, aquí nuestra presentación. Y estamos listas para acogerlos.
Thank you so much. Almost as exotic as the Canary Islands. Just before we break off for coffee, our colleague Nelson has got some housekeeping for us to bear in mind. And I'm also going to ask him, of course, what is his animal?
Thank you very much. Buenas tardes. Yo voy a hablar en castellano, si les parece. Lo importante, vamos a dar un par de informaciones que son muy importantes para el día de hoy. La primera es que si están tomando nota. Si están tomando nota. Uno de los objetivos importantísimos de esta jornada era que ustedes fueran conociendo esos contactos que nos demandan continuamente, contactos de calidad, centros de calidad que traen a sus espaldas otros centros de calidad. Y entonces estábamos buscando intentar tener una estrategia de manera que ustedes no solo los escucharan, sino que también pudieran acceder a ellos y a ellas de una manera ágil. Por ese motivo, en las columnas, en la parte exterior de las columnas estas que tenemos en el centro, ustedes van a encontrarse un QR. Esto es una sorpresa también para nuestros invitados. Escaneando ese QR, ustedes van a tener acceso a todos los contactos de todas las personas de las delegaciones que nos visitan en estas jornadas. Y ahora, otra sorpresa. Y ahora otra sorpresa para las delegaciones invitadas. En ese listado está el contacto de Judith. Bien, simplemente comentarles un par de cosas a niveles organizativos. Ahora vamos a tener el momento del coffee break, que lo tendremos hasta las 18:45, en el que tendremos que estar aquí. Hemos acabado el primer bloque de delegaciones invitadas y ahora tendríamos el coffee break. El coffee break es un momento no solo de parón, sino de contacto, de relationship. Vamos a aprovechar para establecer esos contactos ya con las delegaciones invitadas, con otros centros. Hemos intentado que sea lo más visual posible y para intentar localizarlos, el 95% de ellos tienen un cordel amarillo. También, como hubieron algunas incidencias, hay algún amarillo local, pero bueno, no pasa nada. Entonces, vamos a irnos al coffee break que los compañeros y que nos están echando una mano hoy con el staff nos ayudan. Y otra cosa organizativa importante. Muchos de ustedes tienen en su tarjeta identificativa, si le dan la vuelta, encontrarán un gomet o un circulito de color. Esas personas elegidas aleatoriamente se van a quedar en esta sala porque vamos a hacer un experimento con ellos. ¿De acuerdo? Vamos a dar las gracias de nuevo, a Alies La Orotava, que está ayudándonos con todo el tema de la organización, por favor. Y en la zona del coffee break el coffee break será amenizado por los compañeros de los alumnos del IES La Guancha de su ciclo de DJ. Entonces, disfruten y a pasarlo bien. Y nos vemos aquí a las 6:45. Vamos sentándonos, por favor, para continuar, si son tan amables. En lo que nos vamos sentando, al acabar la última intervención, por favor, antes de la cena, las personas que hayan solicitado la traducción simultánea devuelven el receptor y los cascos, ¿vale? Es importante que los devuelvan. Y mañana, por la mañana, pueden recogerlos de nuevo. Vale, mañana les daremos otro dispositivo.
So, is everybody here? Can you put your hand up if you're not here? Yes, there's a few people. Yeah, few people missing. Lovely. Okay, I love that buzz. I know you're all talking about the things that we want you to talk about. But we're going to ask you to stop talking about the things that you're talking about and let us carry on. Because you know what? Time is not our friend. Nope, it's not our friend. But who is our friend is Trine. And Trine has come from a place rather different from here. But we will find, through talking to her, we have a lot of similarities. But Trine, I'm going to ask you just before you begin, if you could please tell us what animal you would be or what form of transport.
Working, yes.
Yes.
I would be today a bicycle with a flat tire.
Can you unpack that for us? Why are you a bicycle with a flat tire?
I could, but I wouldn't. No, not today. The time is not working in my favor as well, because back at home, it's 2 hours later than it is here at the moment. So let's start.
Okay, can you just tell us where home is?
Back there, where it's cold, it's snowing in May, so do come visit us. Yeah, thank you. Actually, my opening line was supposed to be something else. My colleagues over there, please wave. The Estonian team, can you take a look? Yeah, they said make a joke. But Estonians are serious people. We're not about joking. However, my opening line today. Hello, Europe. This is Estonia calling. always wanted to say it. But let's go to business. Yes, this is Estonia calling. My name is Triin, and today I'm here to tell you a story. A story about students who are really successful. And I'm going to share just a little bit of magic we do in Estonia to make sure that all our students are happy and successful. I brought with me here from the snow 7 lovely colleagues. They waved. In case you have any questions, ask them. I'm just a messenger. So, one more question before I start with the business. Who knows where Estonia is? Disappointing. Come in May, I say. So here you will see where Estonia is actually. Population 1.3 million. How many people there are in Tenerife? 900,000? Yes, we're a country with 1.3 million. We are, who's reading newspapers lately? They know that Estonia is quite feisty member of EU and NATO, yes? And to be honest, in order to pursue our Nordic love of distance, like physical distance from other people, 99% of our online or of our public services are online. Then we don't have to go and meet other people like physically from face to face. And it's the same thing with our education. We're online quite a bit. I come from Estonia, but I'm representing Estonian Education and Youth Board here with my other colleagues. And we belong under the Ministry of Education and Research in Estonia. And since last week, we have new structure, new departments. I don't know the names of them yet, so you can read it later yourself. But what is important, we're quite a huge agency. We have 414 employees, and 130 of them is our department. So be lucky that only 7 of us came. Concerning Estonian students, we're really proud that according to PISA 2022, Estonian students rank #1 in Europe. 6th in reading and science, and 7th in mathematics. One may wonder, what is the key to success? The answer is not easy, as you can read. Of course, our students are quite talented, but they need extra help from the education system as well. So, can you all read, or because from the 4th line it was quite... You can't see anything? No? Yes. There's 1 thumb up in the back row, so you can read. But maybe the most important points to bring out from this slide, Estonia has an inclusive education system. Plus, we have special support for each student who needs it. But Estonia is also quite a big strategic planning. Yes, let's stick to that. We're doing it really efficiently. And Estonian education is free of charge, of course. Plus, our teachers have a lot of autonomy in order to decide what is best for the student. And if we talk about Estonian students, we have approximately 160,000 students, and 23% of them need extra help in school. And out of this 23%, 16% is supported on a school level, which means that every day teachers and support specialists can do something in order to make the life in a school a bit easier. But 7%, this 4% enhanced support and 3% special support, those are those children who need extra help, who have learning difficulties, who have special educational needs. I think you all know what inclusive education is. And actually, I wanted to point out this area here, yes. You can all read from the slide what inclusive education in Estonia is, but Those two circles, they give you an image, what we think is the essence of inclusive education. When we're born, we all have the right to get education. No matter in which family you are born, what kind of socio-economical possibilities and opportunities you have. But in inclusive education, it's our task to make sure that each student gets the support in a school system that they actually need. So instead of giving the same books to everyone, giving the same workload to everyone, we're just making sure that each student gets as much work done as they are capable of. And in order to support students, we have two-level support system in Estonia. The first level is the work that the teachers and support specialists do in schools every day. And the second level is Rajaleidja centers, Pathfinder centers. We are representing the Pathfinder centers here. We are financed through ESF program. We just finished one in October or in September and started one in October. So it's this Rajaleidja centers, it's basically out-of-school counseling. And our aim is to consult foremost parents, teachers, if they have a question how to support one specific student a bit better in a school environment. So, but what is this general support that we offer in a school? Basically, it's smaller groups, it's workload and study materials reduction if necessary. It's from time to time an opportunity to add some extra personnel in your classroom. And it's also, you have a possibility to adjust methodology and also the school environment if necessary. But what is this mysterious Pathfinder that I'm talking about? This is like a system. Each year we have approximately 35,000 clients. We have 98 specialists at the moment who deal with all those clients. We are nationwide, so when you asked where do I live and where do I work, all over Estonia, come visit us. It also snows in the southern part of Estonia. And what kind of services do we offer? We offer counseling services, and we are neutral partner for schools. We are neutral partner for parents who have questions about their child education, and the services all are free of charge. And another part of Rajaleidja or Pathfinder work is the decisions we're making in case the child needs special support in education. In Estonia, we have a law which states that each school has to provide the child the educational support services they need. So, but with some recommendations come also extra money for the school. That means that we, as a Pathfinder centers, have to do also those recommendations. And here is just an overview how we do the work. We make an appointment with the client, and what's maybe the most important is the data gathering and assessment part, and also monitoring. Our work is not only make a recommendation and say, you do this, you do that, but it's also our task to monitor how the school is meeting one student needs. So the decisions of the external advisory team, that means that in case there is a student who has to have some special assistance in a school, then the parents or the school can turn to us. We make a recommendation, and as said, a school will get some extra funds to offer, for example, assistant teacher or a support person in the class. And the main aim of this recommendation is to make sure that each student is supported in a school. And here is a slide a bit longer about this enhanced and special support. When we were talking before with our Greek colleagues, hello, we said that normally in Estonia we have a class containing 20 students, but we have also classes with 7 students only. And we have classes with 35 students. But we also have a possibility to make the smaller classes when there are children who have this enhanced or special support recommendations from our house. Yes. And we also have an additional role in Rajaleidja since the war in Ukraine. We were faced with Ukrainian refugees, children who had to be brought into Estonian education system. We were the first Estonian governmental agency to hire Ukrainian specialists. At the moment, we have 4 psychologists working for us. And I'm quite happy actually to say that Ukrainian students are not labeled as Ukrainian students anymore. They are just students for us. They can come to us, they can turn to us, and for us they are students who needs to learn Estonian a bit harder, but we'll get to Estonian learning a bit later. No, not later. To sum it up, since we are such a small country, we cannot lose a single student. That's why it's so important for us to make sure that each student really gets what they need. And we cannot lose a single one of them. And I would like to teach you one Estonian word when you come, no matter in which month. Aitäh. Yes? Aitäh. Aitäh. I would teach you another word, but it's online at the moment, so I can't. In case you're wondering what the word is, come and ask me later. Thank you so much. And in case you have any questions, remember those ladies, my colleagues, they are ready to answer any questions you have. Yes. Thank you.
So that's Estonia. I'm going to do something now. I'm going to ask the Estonian delegation if you could please stand up and turn around. All those from Estonia. Right, so we've got one Estonian is a bicycle with a flat tire. You need to ask the others why. And now we're moving across Europe and we're going to Austria, where we've got Bianca. Let's hear it for Bianca. She's coming up here. She's thinking if she's an animal or if she's a form of transport. Bianca, you're most welcome. But you do have to answer that question. If you were a form of transport or if you're an animal, what would you be and why?
I think I'd also be a bicycle, but not with a flat tire, but with, just a normal bicycle, because it's the best way to get around in the city I will present now to you. It's the city of Graz. And I swear that by bicycle, you're so much faster than by the public transportation.
So she's fast. That's what she means to say. She's fast.
And may I move this a little to the left, because I noticed that you can never see this part of the slides. So is it now visible? Okay. And also something I would like to say, I tried the QR code, and I think with some email contact, something went wrong. Because for my email, it says bildungsdirektion@bildung-stmk.gv.at, and it's not like this. And I think that with the ladies from La Réunion, there's also missing the part in the front. Is this possible? Because it only says...
Okay, point taken. Technical team will be working on that. It'll be fixed.
Maybe, or you write down all our contacts. I think tomorrow. This would be the best.
Technology is good when it works.
Okay. As I said, I'm presenting Styria, and the capital of Styria is Graz. Graz is where the Bildungsdirektion Steiermark has their headquarter, and Bildungsdirektion is Consejería de Educación in Spanish and Board of Education in English. So, this is my region. This is Styria. Styria is part of Austria. It's quite in the center, and it's close to Slovenia, Hungary, and also quite close to Italy. So it's not too far. You can even go there by bicycle. In the Directorate of Education or Board of Education, we have two parts. We have the pedagogical service and the presidential department. It's because the schools in Austria are organized either by Austria or by the region. That's why we also have two parts here. And the pedagogical service steers the quality management with the regional school supervision teams, coordinates the regional educational offer, and provides pedagogical counseling and support services. Well, what we are doing is we're trying to help the schools with their organization. The presidential department manages the staff in all regions and provides school medical and psychological support services for schools, pupils, teachers, and parents. So everything concerning schools happens in this building. Yes. In Styria, we have about 750 schools and more than 120 pupils. 120,000 pupils. We have 400 schools working with Erasmus and 6.7 million euros of Erasmus funding in 2022, which is a lot for a region. But I think it shows how much we're doing. What we are offering these schools at the service office in our Board of Education is kind of we are facilitators. We are helping schools to get along with Erasmus. You know, Erasmus is the best thing ever, otherwise we wouldn't be here, but it's a lot of work. We have many big schools with an accreditation, but we also have many smaller schools in Styria, primary schools with 2 to 4 classes. And the schools who are here, who do have an accreditation, know that it's kind of impossible to get one when you're a school with 40 students. And that's where we come into the game. We have a big consortia, and many schools in Styria are part of our consortia. We're helping schools. We're telling them what are their options, what can they do. If they have never done anything with Erasmus, we tell them, okay, come to our consortia, try it out. If you like it, we will help you to get an accreditation. And that's how it works, and that's why Styria is in Austria. I don't know if you can read the numbers, but in the last column you have Vienna with 17 accredited schools, if I can read right, and 63 in Styria, which is a lot for the region that we are. Yes, we have many. I'm so sorry, I'm not used to talking to microphone. I'm used to talking to students. I'm teaching Spanish and maths, and I've been to the office for 3 months, so this is my first presentation in front of so many people. So please be kind. No. But we have many projects. One of these projects is we are also working with long-time mobilities. We have a project called Échange d'Alvel, which is an exchange with France, where I think this year is the 4th year. We're sending 89 students to France in September to go to different schools for a month. And then 1 month afterwards, the French students are coming to Austria. And this is quite a lot. If you're thinking about 89 students from different Austrian schools going there by bus, so it's green travel. Yeah, And this is quite outstanding. This is something I would like not only to have it with France, but also with other European countries. We know it works. It's the 4th year and 89 students is a lot. And yeah, that's why I'm here. I want to build a network with other Austrian schools. I want to look for schools who would take part in this project and in other projects. So yeah, I hope some of you contact me and us. These are my office members. We're nice people. We're all smiling. And these are my happy students because, as I said, I'm still teaching. And yeah, I hope to hear from you. If you're interested in working together with one of our consortia schools, these are our goals, because you know that writing an accreditation, a consortia, you have to define goals, and these are our 8 goals, and I think nearly, you can do anything you want with these 8 goals. I can't think of a mobility not fitting in any of these goals, so yeah, contact us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca. And are you getting the message? The message is connect. Here you've got so many opportunities that are opening up in front of you. And now we have 2 very handsome gentlemen walking towards me, wondering what the question's going to be. And we have Christos and Makis. Efthymios, Makis. Yeah, it's the same thing. So the question is animal or form of transport?
I think a swallow. Swallow.
A swallow. Do we know what this is?
The bird who.
It's the golondrina.
The bird, it moves all the way in the warm countries.
So he's a swallow because he's a bird that always likes to be in a warm country. Lovely.
Thank you.
Perhaps a dog.
Why?
I like hugs.
He likes to hug.
And at the same time, like to protect my family.
Oh, we've got a dog and a swallow. How diverse. We're really looking forward to hearing about the opportunities to connect with Greece. So the floor is yours.
Hello. I would like to thank you for the invitation. We are from Greece, and we represent our organization. First of all, I apologize for my English because it's the 3rd language, and I must take my notes. Our organization is my name is Makis. I am the director of primary education in my region, and Christos, my colleague. Our office is director of primary education, directorate of primary education in Thiotida. The Greek education system is managed by the Ministry of Education. It is divided into 13 administrative regions and 113 directorates of primary and secondary education. The Directorate of Primary Education of Thiotida is a decentralized service of the Ministry of Education that manages the educational staff in primary education schools belonging to the region of Thiotida. Thiotida is one of 52 regional units of Greece. It is located in central Greece, and Lamia is the capital city. These are the departments of our organization. We are responsible for 116 schools, 19 kindergartens, and 70 primary schools. The teaching staff consists of about 1,200 teachers of all specialties. Teachers, kindergarten teachers, teachers of physical education, English, French, and German teachers, informatics, visual arts, theater education, etc. In the city of Lamia, there are 30 primary schools and 50 kindergartens, 37 public and 13 private. Our responsibility is both the administrative and pedagogical part of schools. There are 5 school counselors, of which 3 are for the general education, 1 for preschool education, and 1 for special and inclusive education. School units follow the curriculum set by the Ministry of Education. Language, mathematics, history, physics, geography, citizenship education are the main subjects, but also physical education, foreign language, visual arts, theatrical education, informatics, music are taught. In 35 school units, 32 primary and 3 kindergartens, there are integration classes. Resource rooms is the name, to support students with learning difficulties or mild disabilities. There are also 18 classes for teaching Greek as a second foreign language, mainly for students coming from different cultural backgrounds, like immigrants, refugees, Roma, etc. In addition, a large number of students, about 128, are supported by specialized parallel support assistant teachers who support them within the classroom by co-teaching with the main teachers and applying innovative methods in the context of inclusion. Our coordinator for the European projects is Katerina Kargali. Our European soul, and many programs start from here. The Directorate of Primary Education is an accredited organization for Erasmus programs for the next 4 years. The accreditation gives up the right and opportunity to send teachers of our schools to institutions and schools in other countries for training, attending training seminars, and teaching. Are there programs in our organization this time? The exchange of educational views and cooperation with teachers from other countries strengthen the concept of collectivity and the interaction of education systems.
Okay, so far you heard my boss. Now you're going to hear a teacher. I belong to his department, but my school is the 4th primary school of Lamia. In Greece, we have numbers for our schools, not names. My school is just downtown in Lamia. Lamia is a small town in the center of Greece. And our school is very old, with a small space for our students in our breaks. We have to speed the children from sensitive social groups and different cultural environments. We say we are a different school. That means we are not all white or black or gray. And we are interested in traveling all our students. When Erasmus came to our school about 8 years ago, suddenly we changed our methods. Impossible became possible because everyone felt included. We are the most experienced school in our region. We are awarded by our national agency, and we are not just partners, but we are also coordinators. Here you can see our projects, and we have accreditation from 2021, and all our programs are best practice for Erasmus. We don't go only for job shadowing. We go for teaching in other countries. And of course, we host teachers from European schools. From Finland, Iceland, Gran Canaria, not from Tenerife yet, and from Germany, Romania, Cyprus, Italy, Spain, all over. Réunion, yes. From Réunion, yes. And as we say, because we managed to explore the magical world of Erasmus. As you can see here, Erasmus gave us wings. And now we can fly, and not fly. A wonderful painting from our students. Okay. And we're going to close from Einstein. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. We would like to, gracias, thank you, Efcharisto.
Thank you, gentlemen. Excellent story of success and great sales pitch for Erasmus+. The next person I'd like to invite is Petra. Petra. Oh, there you are. I was looking for you there. You were ahead of me. Petra's come all the way from Germany, from Hanover. Yes. Excellent. Now, Petra, you get the choice of animal or vehicle.
Yes. Animal?
Which animal and why?
Actually, I guess a lion, because I like the sun, adventures, experiences, running and sleeping.
Okay, a lion. I hand over to the lion.
Yeah. Yes, thanks a lot. Hello from me and good evening to you. So I am inspector in Hanover. So I'm from Germany, from Lower Saxony. On the right, you can see Germany, and the dark blue colored area is Lower Saxony. The little red point you can see maybe, yes, you can see it, I guess, it's Hanover. So I'm working in the school authority in Hanover. The pictures you can see our nice city, Hanover, the capital of Lower Saxony. No? Yeah, okay. This is us. What or who are we, okay? We are responsible for the supervision of around 710 schools in Lower Saxony. We have more than 22,000 teachers and more than 300,000 schools or students, actually. So also there are 14 teaching centers which we are responsible for. What does supervision implies in Hanover? It means advice and support. It also means control and organization and intervention. So we advise and support school in all matters, actually in all matters. They just call, they send a mail, so we support them. It's very important for us to trust them and to work close together with the schools. So this is me. I already told you that I'm inspector. I was teacher before, deputy and headmaster. Now I'm inspector, I guess, since 11 years in Hanover. And I have got a special task. So I'm responsible for the primary school. I'm responsible also for 30 schools roundabout, but also for the primary schools. So I am the link to the ministry, to the headmasters, to the head of our ministry. You can see here my contact. If you want to contact me, but I come later to it, you can do it. I would be happy about it. So, oh no. Again, what's that? So, no, sorry. So, what do we do? The most important part is to ensure the filling of leadership, I guess. So we don't want to have schools without headmasters. That is the most important for us. But there are so many other tasks we are responsible for, but most of it to support the schools. It just worked, didn't it? Okay, yeah. So our school authority is a link between the Ministry of Education and the schools and the teaching training centers. So the ministry is a higher authority and we are subordinate to the ministry. In Hanover, you can see our office here. We have also the preschool education in Hanover. We are the only school authority with preschool education in Hanover and Lower Saxony. But there are also 3 more school authorities in Lower Saxony. Braunschweig, Lüneburg und Osnabrück. Maybe you have already heard to it. Okay. Here you can see our departments. We have 7, or I can say 5 departments. The department 2, 3, and 4 are the departments which are responsible for the schools. So I am working as an inspector in the department 2, and we work together with the primary and the secondary schools, also with the special needs schools. Sorry. Wrong direction? Is that right? Sorry? No, but it's not. Anyway, it's not working. Oh, okay, sorry. So, So now, okay, sorry. The RZI, what is it? The RZI, you can see it on the picture, is a counseling center for the inclusive schools. So they have got to ensure the special need teachers for the inclusive schools. On this slide, you can see the structure of our school system in Lower Saxony. In Lower Saxony, the children or students start with the school when they are 6 years old. Before, they have got the option to visit the kindergarten, but when they are 6 years old, they have to start the primary school. They have to go to school then. The primary schools, they just visit for 4 years. Afterwards, they visit the upper schools. And in Germany, you have to visit schools for 12 or 13 years. Since 2007, the schools are more autonomous. What does it mean for us, for the inspectors? The schools got more independent. It means for us, we trust in the schools and less control. For us, it's very, very important that we trust the schools, I already told it to you, and that the control got less. Now, that's it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Petra. And I had a brief conversation with Petra before the presentations began, and she told me that she's really hoping to make connections with primary schools here. So there are a lot of you out there who've got primary schools, you're working on European projects. Make a connection with Austria. Not with Austria, sorry, not with Austria, with Germany. Well, with Austria as well, with both of them.
We already know each other. Okay, so, yeah.
Yeah. Make your connections. Okay. Thank you. Now, last but not least, we have Frank Lecar. Frank is an old friend and colleague who has been so successful in European projects that he even knows me. And Frank, the question is animal or form of transport?
Nothing very original. I will be a bear.
A bear.
Yeah, sorry.
A bear. Yeah. So why are you a bear?
I don't know. I love walking in the forest and sleeping in the cave.
Walking in the forest and sleeping in the cave. Over to Frank.
And you?
Oh, I'm a Jaguar sports car. I used to be British. I used to be fast. I'm very nostalgic, and I might not start in the morning. Do you want this one or that?
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Judith and Karin, for the invitation. I'm going to try to be short because I know I'm the last obstacle between you and the buffet. And I can see it. So, well, I will just answer 3 questions. The first one is who I am. As Ed say, I'm involved in Erasmus for a very long time, maybe 30 years. I'm a former archaeologist. Then I became a history teacher. And then I became in charge of international relationship. I did my first Erasmus as a student in the former century. Yes. And I was one of a happy teacher involved in the foundation of eTwinning. It started with a small group of teachers around the table in Brussels 12 years ago. Maybe 12 years ago. And I've been involved in Erasmus for all that time. And we've had another friend called Richard Talaron, maybe you know. We create DIPS, Developing International Project in Your School. It's an annual conference which is held every year in a new capital, and it will be held in October 20 to 26 in Brussels. And you can get involved in it with an Erasmus grant, and it's like you, it's a group of very motivated teachers coming from all Europe and exchanging good practice about Erasmus project. And one of my points will be maybe the good practice of Erasmus. I'm currently the director of the Regional Office for Internationalization in Occitanie. As Marjorie, I'm what we call in the French system, we are the DRAREC. That's mean Director for Regional Action for Europe, Internationalization and Cooperation. Occitanie is actually a quite big territory. It's twice the size of Netherlands. And we have nearly 6,000 schools. We have Spanish language lesson in all the secondary system, in every secondary school. And because of our location close to the Spanish border, we are the most active territory to exchange with Spain. About 60,000 student mobility every year between my region and Spain. So it's a lot. Nearly all high schools have a partnership with Spain, but we have place for other partnerships, especially with the Canarias. And we are easily reached because it's like the Canarias, we are a sunny region, so we have a low-cost connection between all the European region, which is quite nice, compulsory for Erasmus. If you look at the budget, you need direct or low-cost connection. Yep. This is my office. It's a team of 8 people dedicated to international exchange. 80% of our staff is about Erasmus on every field of Erasmus: higher education, vocational education, school education. My office runs 4 consortia, which involve about 500 schools. And one of the most important action is job shadowing, because teachers need it before they exchange with students. So if you are involved, if you are interested with having a job shadowing with friends, we are already ready for that. We have the tool and the money for that. And I have a long list of teachers. We wait to have the opportunity to do a job shadowing in Spain. Okay, so because you are a teacher and meeting is sharing, that will be my message about Erasmus and maybe my little exchange about good practice. With this experience, I have the chance to interview a lot of teachers. And I realize if you want to have a successful Erasmus exchange, you must respect 5 rules. I call it the 5F because I try to find a mnemotechnic system to remind it, and it always starts with an F. So that's the 5 rule if you want to have a successful Erasmus project in your school. And it's important because Erasmus is becoming more and more competitive. We have passed through the golden age where it was easy to get a grant. Now there is a lot of competition. So the quality of your project is something very important. So rapidly, what are the 5 rules? Up. Oh, sorry, it's not in the... Oh, it's the opposite. Well, I'm sorry. Well, the symbol was supposed to appear before the word. Okay, I didn't try before. As a teacher, it's happened sometime. I don't know why. Okay, so you have all of them. I'm sorry. So the first one, it must be easy. It must be facile. How can be easy? It must be, for example, in an established cooperation, such as between Occitanie and the Canary. We have signed an agreement, and we know well each other between Judith, Karin, and my team. So it's easy. And if something happened with the kids, you have an office to call. So it's very important. The second point is maybe not the easiest for the Canary, but you need to have something easy in the transportation. Because if you can move as a teacher, but if you move with a group of students, it's very important to have an easy way to get connection. There is a law about 1 out of 60 travelers by plane have a delay or lost luggage. So if you do a travel with 30 students and you take 2 planes, you can imagine you are in the statistic. So you must find a way to have an easy exchange. The second point, it must be formative. We always travel to learn. And it must be the basic in your project. What I will bring to the group, what I will learn from the group. Because as a teacher, it will maintain your motivation. There's another law. Usually when you do a project, it will last about 3 years. The first year, you are really motivated. The second year, it's really good. The third year, you don't know why you do it now, after 3 years. So you need a motivation. And this motivation will come if you learn something, even as a teacher. If you find a school where they have a good practice, it will maintain your motivation to visit them every year. So it must be formative and it must be balanced in the both way. If you do an exchange, you must learn something and you must teach something to the other partner. The second point is must be funded. Well, it's quite easy. It's Erasmus. If you use Erasmus well, it won't cost anything to your school. You know that. The fourth point, it must be focused. Focused, you must target the right subjects, which is quite easy with Erasmus, but the most difficult is to target the right group. How do you choose the right group? You know, if you have a school of, 500 students, you won't have the money to move them all. So the most important thing is how to do something fair, with an impact, with the chosen group. That's maybe the most difficult question to do a good Erasmus program. The other good practice is linked to that point. It must be inclusive, and it must be with transparency. Everybody must know why these people is having a ground in your project. And the other good practice now, and it's important for the budget and for the planet, so it's a double impact, it must be greener. And the last point, and it's maybe the most important for your school, it must be federative. If you are an expert team in your school having success and letting apart 80% of the school, it will be a disaster in 3 or 4 years. The most important point is how can I be federative for my school, for the student, for all the school community. And usually you don't think about it as a teacher, because when you start, you are alone, you are a small team. But from the beginning, you must find a process to be the more federative as you can in your project. And if you put all these 4 points together, you will have a long-lasting project. It's something that I can see every day when I see a lot of projects. That's it. Thank you.
Nice proverb. Thank you, Frank, for that excellent words of wisdom about success in your projects. Again, a word that Frank used there was to talk about celebration. This is a feria. Throughout Europe, we're talking about learning through festivals, trying to connect with positive images, positive ways of learning. And here in this room, I think there are many people who believe that this is possible. Now, we're about to finish this formal part of the evening, but perhaps the most important part comes afterwards. This is in the informal times, during your meal, and afterwards, I believe there's, we have a dance and a performer. We've got some music taking place in the hotel bar. That's arranged for you. And these are your opportunities to talk. Now, at the very beginning, cuando hemos empezado hoy, hemos hecho algunos giros, ¿no? De Bonnie Tyler. Y el reto era conectar con gente desconocida. Entonces, lo que hay que hacer ahora en este tiempo informal, no programado, tenemos que hablar con esta gente. Gente que no conoces, que puedes empezar fácilmente. Si no sabes cómo empezar, es ¿qué animal serías tú? O lo haces al revés. Tú eres un oso, o tú sé que lo que eres, rana. La cena, si lo tengo bien, a las 9:30. A las 9, eso os da tiempo para vestir de gala. Y luego con los zapatos de bailar, ¿no? Antes, si tienes cascos, hay que llevarlos arriba. Okay? Bring your headphones up, take them back, and go and get yourselves all nice and dressed up for the dinner dance. See you later.
Solo una cosita más, una sola. No se quejarán que les hemos traído aquí a lo mejorcito de Europa para buscar socios. No se quejarán que encima entre ustedes mismos pueden conectarse y preguntar, ¿y a ti te fue bien cuando fuiste a Italia? ¿Dónde fuiste? ¿Te gustó? ¿Te aportaron algo? Y a ti, al de Galdar, que está también por ahí, oye, ¿tú dónde fuiste? ¿Tú fuiste a Finlandia? ¿Y al final? Y al de Tacoronte, y al de Arona, y al de Granadilla, y al de La Palma. Estamos aquí para eso, para, como decía Ed ahora, interconectarnos, pero no solo con nuestros socios, amigos y compañeros que han venido de Europa y que nos han mostrado lo mejor de sí mismos, sino entre nosotros, los canarios, que también tenemos mucho que aportar entre nosotros mismos, ¿vale? ¿Se acuerdan cómo se llamaba esto? ¿Cómo se llama esta jornada?